Hi everybody, it's Lauren Brown, also known as Raggedy Royal, on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and now YouTube. And today we're going to be doing this new foundation routine, base routine. I've been doing it for the last couple of days. I feel like I really got it down to a science. I hit the hammer on the head. I hit all the things on the nose. It's perfect. So, I did make a video a little while ago, and some things have changed since then, since my last foundation routine. So we're going to jump straight into it. Please give this video a like and make sure that you're subscribed. So the first step to my base routine, first step to really any successful base routine is moisturizing. So I'm going to use the Dermalogica Dynamic Skin Recovery Moisturizer. It's my favorite moisturizer. It is a little pricey, but this is one of the things that I will pay for. I will shell it out and I will pay for. It has SPF 50 in it as well, so sun protection, which is really important. I'm going to rub that in. I'm also going to take my nose rings out because they're actually just earrings and they flop around and I don't have time for that. My nose piercings are finally healed enough where I can do that, and I take that option every time. Alright, so after I rub that in, I'm also going to put on a little Aquaphor Immediate Relief on my lips because I'm about to be talking for a while. 1, 2. Makes lipstick delivery later way smoother. Alright, so once the face is all moisturized, it's time to get into the primer. So, my favorite primers are hydrating primers. Even if I'm doing a matte face, I still like a hydrating primer simply because I don't have oily skin. I don't need to mattify my skin that much. I feel like the hydrating primers also just boost the way the makeup looks. Even if it's matte, it just makes it look moisturized. It doesn't make it look dry. That's what I'm looking for. It doesn't make it look dry. So here are two of my favorites. Here's a drugstore favorite, and this is the Milani Skin Quench Primer. And then this is my favorite. I do lean more towards high-end primers. On my Instagram, a lot of people ask me, like, do you like high-end makeup or drugstore makeup? It depends on the category. But for primers, I do lean more towards the high end, but I love this one as well. And this is the Makeup Forever Hydra Boost Step 1 Primer. Today, I'm going to go in with the Hydra Boost and a little bit of the Milani since I'm running out of this. The only thing about the Milani is that it is white, so I feel like sometimes it gives a cast compared to the Makeup Forever one. I'm going to roll those two together, and I'm going to apply with my fingers. So I like to apply primer, foundation with my fingers instead of applying it to the brush, simply because I already don't clean my brushes enough, and I don't need to be putting product directly into the brush. It's going to make it dirtier. It's going to be unsanitary. It's not my style. So more unsanitary than it already is. So I put the primer on first. I'm going to take this dome brush from Morphe. It's a Morphe M536. And I'm just going to blend that out. Let's get into the face. Yesterday, I used this e.l.f. Halo Glow Liquid Filter, which is a glow booster. I'm gonna be honest, don't even know what that means. It just says it's a glow booster for radiant skin. I couldn't tell if it was supposed to be a concealer, foundation, what. I don't get the concept, but it makes my skin look great. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of this before foundation. It doesn't really have high coverage. It's just like a tinted primer almost. I don't know, but it makes my skin look good. After I blend this out, just because I want it to be even, using that same Morphe M563 from before. You see, it like did something, but did it? You know what I mean? Let's get into foundation. So, when it comes to foundation, I like to do a foundation and a tinted moisturizer. That's how I like to do it. I don't need a lot of coverage, so just a foundation, I don't know. It just, I need the tinted moisturizer to mix with it and mellow it out a little bit. I don't need to look super foundation-y. But I also need a little bit more coverage than tinted moisturizer gives me. So that middle ground is great. My favorite foundations of pretty much all time, I just kind of switch between these three, are the Too Faced Born This Way foundation. And this is the Undetectable Medium to Full Coverage foundation. The Tarte Shape Face Tape. And the Makeup Forever Matte Velvet Skin. Matte Velvet Skin is probably the most matte, and it also has the most coverage, but my color's a little bit off. So when I'm going for a matte super high coverage day, I'd use this one. But these two are pretty much my go-betweens. My favorite tinted moisturizer of all time is the Mercier Tinted Moisturizer in Tawny. I love this moisturizer so much. Today I'm going to be using the Too Faced Born This Way. I'm going to put it on the back of my hand like I always do, just so I can disperse evenly. And then I'm going to use the tinted moisturizer. Let's see if I can just get a little bit out of here. This is just a smidge. Ooh, look at God. And so I'm going to blend that on the back of my hand. What I'm going to do is put that on my face. It is a little bit light. I got a super duper tan this summer. It's almost faded away, but the foundation still is a little light. Don't worry, when we start adding contours and blushes and the such, don't worry. All right, let's use my Real Techniques Instapop cheek brush. And so I'm going to just blend that right on out. And there's still some foundation on the back of my hand, which is what we're going to use to clean up my brows. All right, so now I'm going to take this Morphe M432, which is a flat brush. I'm going to use that foundation on the back of my hand. I will note that foundation is way more fluid than concealer most times, so that means it's going to slide around more. So you don't need that much product in the back of your brush, because once you get to this curve, this little the curve with the foundation, it can get everywhere. So you don't need as much as if you were trying to do this with concealer. Just something to be mindful of. I know when it comes to concealer, I be throwing it on the brush. But a little kind of goes a long way with the foundation. And I like to do this step before I put blush or contour on my forehead so that the blush and contour blends it in. So it's no halo brow. It's no, unblended random cleanup of the brow after I did the face forehead makeup. So I like to do it before that. Under the brow, we're going to save that for later. Now it's time to get into my favorite step, which is concealer. And I like to use concealers that go with the foundation. I like to use foundations that have concealers with them because if it comes from the same brand, it's in the same line, it's probably formulated to work together. So we are going to be using the Too Faced Born This Way Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer. By the way, the foundation was in shade Warm Beige and the concealer is in shade Golden Beige. So this is a little bit lighter than my skin tone. I do use two concealers, but this is the first one. And I'm going to take it all the way out here. I know people do the whole like one dot of concealer here, one dot of concealer here, and it lifts their face. I'm not people. I didn't like it. I guess I'm just a full coverage girly at heart. I was not feeling that. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. I'm going to go underneath the nose. They're like, it's wasting product. I don't think it's wasting product. I saw the difference in my own two eyes. More power to y'all if y'all do that, but it was not for me. I'm going to use this Real Techniques contour brush. Real Techniques brushes are definitely my favorite for face makeup. They're at the drugstore. They come in sets. I mean, what's there not to like? I'm going to go ahead and blend that on out. Sometimes I do a little bit right here, but not too much on the forehead because for some reason, I always hate the way it looks later in pictures. That's the best way to learn what you hate about your makeup is go back and try to edit the pictures, and you'll get tired of making the same mistakes because you're like, I'm tired of editing it. Like I'm tired of having to go in and fix my forehead makeup because they don't look right. So yeah. There's a quick tip. Now I'm going to go with the LA Colors Ultimate Cover Concealer in Porcelain. I love this concealer so much. I think the only place you can get it is Walmart. It's a couple dollars, like $3, $4, $5. Favorite, and I love it, and I have it in so many shades. And I'm going to just go into the inner corner. So this is going to brighten up the under eye, attract light and focus to the center of the face. Contours are shadows, so contours are going to chisel the face. Concealers and highlights bring attention to that part of the face. We want to bring attention to the center of the face because it looks so nice. It looks so nice. And I'm going to go a little bit onto the nose. We're going to contour the nose on camera because I am brave. We're going to contour the nose later, but I just like putting a little bit on there so I can make it easier when I have to clean it up. in later steps. I'm going to take this It Cosmetics Absolute Shadow Brush like this. I like using a smaller brush. You can use the same contour brush that I use for the other concealer, but I like using a smaller brush because it's a smaller area. Now you can see, even without the contour, you can see where the light and where the attention is being drawn to by the highlights in the face. And when we put the contour on, it's just going to enhance that. That's all contouring, highlighting is. Shadows, highlights, chiseling, grabbing attention. Now we're going to be going into this Makeup Forever HD Skin All-in-One palette. I've been loving this palette so much. It's so convenient. So it has concealers, a highlight, some blushes, and some contours. I'm gonna do my blush before my contour simply because I do my contour first and I put my blush on top. Sometimes it muddies away some of the contour. I just like this method best, but I still do it both ways. But if you can remember, do your blush first. I'm going to go into the pink shades and also the orange shades. I love an orange blush, but I've been getting into pink a little bit too. I think also because my hair is red, it's just really flattering. And I'm going to be using a Morphe M405, which is an angled blush brush. And we're going to go right onto the cheeks. And I blush twice, okay? So I'm going to blush cream blush and I'm going to set it later with a powder blush. The only thing about this palette is I feel like the blush is not as strong as I'm used to. But it's okay because we're going to go back in later and reinforce, you know, the blush. Especially after setting powder. And yes, this is a dewy face, but we're still using setting powder. I don't know if I could do a face without setting powder. I just feel like that there's no security there. It's like leaving your convertible with the top down and the keys in it. Like, oh, this is bound to be a disaster. You hug somebody, your face rubs off. You put on your glasses, your face rubs off. You lean on your hand, your face rubs off. Your face rubs off. Anyways, when we get to setting powder, I'll tell you more about my stance and what I'm going to do with my platform. Set the face. That was a very HBCU pageant moment. You're welcome. Now I'm going to be taking this Morphe E4. This brush has done so much for me. And I'm going to be going into the contour shades. I'm going to be using the 2 lighter contour shades. So I'm going to use a little bit of this and a little bit of this. I'm going to go right to the tops of the cheekbones. You can see where the natural contour of your face is. I'm going to go a little bit above that. Nikki Tutorials taught me that. And what I mean by the natural contour of your face, you see how this part of my face is darker. This is where the natural line is, and you have natural highlights and shadows in your face. So when you put foundation on, you're covering all those natural highlights and shadows. So the way that your cheekbones sit, you have, you know, contours of your face. When you put foundation on, you're basically just putting on a base coat. That's a base coat covering all of your shadows and highlights, and then you have to add contours and highlights back in so that your face doesn't look one-dimensional. That's basically all this is. The concealers and all those things are bringing back and enhancing your natural contours that you had before you put on foundation, which basically covered everything and just gave you like a clean crumb coat. You know, when you make cakes, just a clean crumb coat. So I'm going to start up here above the cheekbones, and I'm going to go all the way to the forehead. I'm going to go along this line and go to the forehead. Yes, so I like to go into the forehead, and I would say if you can do your edges before you do your makeup, do your edges before you do your makeup, because when you put the edge gel on there, it's going to go into your contour, and yeah, it can be messy. But I like to go into my edges because I have a very light scalp. Now I'm going to be taking this Real Techniques filtered cheek brush, which is like this. Is a really small stippling brush. I'm going to be going into my favorite highlighter of all time, which is the ColourPop Super Shock Cheek and Happy Thoughts, and I'm going to get a good swirl of that. My favorite highlighters are cream. I don't like powder highlights because I feel like that takes us back to 2017, like streak on your face. But a good cream highlight. I'm still a highlight girl. It makes me look happy. I like it. I like it. So I'm still a highlight girl, but I love a cream highlight. And I'm just going to apply that to the apples of my cheeks in a little swirling motion. I'm going to do the same on this side. Yeah. See, like, wow. She's happy. She's a delight to have in class. That's what I feel like the highlight makes me look like. Makes your skin look great. The dewy look, it enhances it. It's great. I'm gonna go back over it a little bit with the blush, simply because, you know, we might have washed it out a little bit. Fantastic. Now it's time to contour my nose. Whew. I'm going to take this Morphe E62 brush, which is basically the E4, but in a smaller version. This is the mini. I'm going to go into this lightest shade from the Makeup Forever Skin Tint palette. And I'm just going to start carving lines on both sides of the nose. Right? Now I'm going to drag that up into right underneath the eyebrow. You see, even before I put the contour here, you see how your eye naturally does that? It naturally has a contour. I don't have any makeup on right here. So you can see there's naturally a contour right here. We're going to mimic that. And we're going to drag it down the nose. I'm actually going to take some of that darker shade too, because this is looking a little orange. A little bit of darker shade up there. Dragging down the nose. And then I'm going to make a little V at the bottom of the nose. That's pretty much it. Now we just gotta blend it out, which is the hard part. Because y'all know I'm heavy-handed, but like you cannot be heavy-handed with your nose contour because it's already drastic. It's the center of your face. No matter how much you add, it's drastic. So I'm gonna go back in with that light concealer, the brush that I use for the light concealer, and I'm just gonna, you know, reinforce those lines before I go back over it with the concealer brush from before, which was the contour brush that we used for the first concealer. And so I'm going to just pat it out just a smidge. We got the outline, right? We know what we're supposed to be doing. It was just a little bit too harsh. Now with the lighter hand, just a little bit here, a little bit there. Now you see, it's way less harsh. It's way less harsh. I used to try to like fix it with setting powder, and all the setting powder would do is just set it, but it wasn't really fixing the drasticness. And then one day I just went back over the concealer brush and I was like, that's perfect. It's just, it's too loud. I just need to turn down the volume just a little bit. All right, now this is my favorite setting spray right now for the dewy look, and I feel like it goes great with this base routine. This is the Lottie London Illuminating Setting Spray, and I'm going to spray all over. It don't really taste that good. I'm going to spray all over before I set. I also love the Anastasia Dewy Set. That's been my favorite for forever. But I feel like this is more dewy. Like, it almost makes my makeup look like I didn't even set it with setting powder. The Dewy Set is also good, but it's a little bit less illuminating, I'd say. And it's also more expensive. I'm gonna let that dry down a little bit because what I don't want to do is make a paste. If you add a powder to a liquid, you're gonna make a paste. I don't want to do that. So I'm gonna let it dry just a little bit. And you see, do you see how I look like SpongeBob, the episode where he got a tan? He was like glowing. I mean that in the best way possible. That was beautiful. Now, I'm going to be taking Laura Mercier translucent setting powders, and I have the shade Honey, which honestly is a little bit too dark for me and what I'll be trying to go for my under eyes. And then I have the translucent one, but I need to get restocks everything. So I'm going to just be mixing a little bit of that simply because I don't have a lot of the translucent, but like a tad of the honey. A tad. And I'm going to be using an Anastasia A22. So I'm going to get the powder on the brush, right? I'm not gonna bake. I'm not a baker because I feel like there was this whole era where, and I'm just gonna, ooh, that was too much. It's okay, we'll fix it later. But I feel like there was this whole era. I'm just gonna go underneath the eyes, on the forehead. I love mattifying the forehead. It's just so satisfying. The smile lines and the chin. So while I do that, let me tell you about how I feel about baking. I feel like there was a long era where people were just baking because their faves were baking, but everybody doesn't need to bake. Like, every practice, I'm going to add a little bit of the powder to that small brush from before just so I can get right into this under eye. Everybody doesn't need to bake. Baking is, you know, to set your makeup for long times, and also if you have oily face, you need extra setting. Like, that's what baking is for. It's for extra setting. I don't need that, but everybody was so pressed to do it, and I mean, I get it because it does look cool and it's a trend. But when people are like, oh my gosh, my face is dry, but I bake. Why? Stop doing that. That's why it's important to, if you're trying to learn what works for you, it's really important to try to find somebody who has your, not people that you just want to watch, but if you want to do it exactly how they're doing it, your skin type, your face shape, your skin tone. Like, I watch everybody. If I'm trying to find something specifically for me, you want to watch people who have the same things as you, because if I'm watching, for example, Jackie Aina, she has an oily face, right? She does setting powder before she starts her makeup at all. Before she even puts any foundation on, she does setting powder first. On my skin, that's going to be super dry. It's going to look cakey probably, and it's not going to be what I'm going for because I'm going for a more dewy look. That's how I feel about baking. If you're not going for something that's going to be super drying, mattifying, and setting your makeup in place, you don't need to bake. Just add a little bit of powder. See how I did? I added a little bit of powder. And I dusted it off. That's it. That's it. But you do want to make sure you set your face. And I realized by talking to some people in my life who didn't understand what setting powder is, that I should probably take a second to really talk about it. So, setting powder is a powder that's going to mattify your face and also lock it in place. So, this is why I like to do my highlighter before my setting powder, just because I want to make sure that, you know, it can glow, because setting powder will drown it out, and I also feel like it looks better when it's warm on the skin, the highlight. But I'm going to go back and reinforce it. But setting powder is going to mattify your face, so you don't use it in places that you don't want to mattify your face. So I didn't use it right here. Why? Because I already have highlight right there, and I don't want to mattify my under eye today on the outsides. That's just not what I'm trying to do. I didn't put it on top of my contour because I don't mattify my contour. I lock it in with setting spray, but I don't mattify it. It always just ends up looking like really muddy when I do that. You use it in places that you want to use it, but you're using it to lock in your makeup. So if you feel like, oh my gosh, my under eyes are always creasing, or every time I touch my face, the makeup comes on my hands, or I'm hugging somebody and my makeup is on their shirt, that's what you need. Setting powder is to lock it in, and also you can add more setting powder to make it more and more and more matte. I'm going back in with blush because I went a little crazy with the highlight. We need some blush on the forehead and blush on the nose. If you don't put blush on your nose, you need to grow up. Just make you look so happy. I like my base makeup to make it look like, oh my gosh, she's just filled with joy. I always wear a black shirt because the color of your shirt will affect like how your makeup looks, especially with like studio lighting. But the thing about a black shirt is my mom's always like, what is all on your shirt? Setting powder. Setting powder is so messy, it gets everywhere, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. Now that the face is set, I'm going to go underneath the eyebrows with a little bit of concealer. I want the under eye to be a little bit brighter than the top of the eye. Yeah, I want to highlight that arch and that all those brow hairs are in place. So I'm just going to go in with the Too Faced concealer. I'm not going to go in with the super light concealer because it just is not even necessary for a base like this. If I had some eyeshadow on, I'd probably do that, but I do not. And I'm going to use the same Morphe flat brush from before, which is the M432. I'm going to cut it and make it clean. I'm not going to put concealer all over the lid. Now, that's one look I don't like. I usually don't say that I don't like a look because I really don't care too deeply, like negatively about. But I do not like the concealer all over the eye look. I don't like the light concealer on the eye and then full base makeup look. Not really feeling that. That's not even how your eyes look, like how your face looks. You know what I mean? You see how my eyes are like darker than the concealer? Like they have natural contours. So I'm not going to drag this concealer down very far onto the lid because I'm not a big fan of that look. And I'm not going to drag it all the way in to the inner part of the brow because I like the way that the nose contour is sitting, and I'm not going to do that. In fact, I'm going to probably take this right here, this brush from before. It's a little bit dirty, and I'm going to even go over the lid a little bit. I'm going to go in this Kaledios blush, which is shade LOL, just kidding. It doesn't have a shade name. It has this cool lace packaging though. And I'm going to take that same blush brush from before, and I'm just going to go over the blush because, like I said, I like a more vivid blush than the cream blush in that palette can give me. And I also just want to re-solidify it after, you know, adding highlight, powder, contour, all these things. Now it's time for finishing touches and lips. So I'm going to take this ColourPop L1 brush, it's a very small brush, and go back into that highlighter from before, and I'm going to add highlight to my nose. So the tip of the nose and the bridge. I'm going to go into the Cupid's bow as well. As far as the inner corner, I don't really like the metallic shimmery inner corners as much as I like the nude matte inner corners. I usually go for a stark white, but with this base I've been going for something a little calmer, so I've been going for a almost white which is this cream, and you can really use any cream eyeshadow that you have. And I'm going to be taking that on a ColourPop E10, which is a dome brush, and this part really doesn't, you know, take a lot of precision. I'm just going to blend it in a little bit. Alright, let's get into lipstick. This is my new favorite nude combo, and I'm really excited to show it to you. First, I'm going to be taking the Aboni Cosmetics Liquid Lipstick in Killer Queen, black owned, shout out them. And I'm going to be lining the lips. And I go a little bit outside my natural lip line to accentuate the shade. So I'm going to be taking this Morphe M152. And I think that blending out every step makes the lip products not coagulate and like mix. You know, like your lipstick mixes when you're talking, and then it doesn't look like smooth anymore. Like you see all the lines, and some parts have more lipstick on it than others. I think that this step helps with that a little bit. I'm just blending it out. Now I'm going to be taking the Anastasia Beverly Hills liquid lipstick, and this is in shade Shripped, which is a nude. I'm going to apply that to the center of the lips. Blend that out as well. You could stop right here. You could stop right here, but I'm not a stop right here type of girl. So I'm using the About Face Matte Fluid Eye Paint, and this is in shade On Point, and it's really just a pale pink. I'm going to add a little bit to the back of my hands. And I'm going to use that brush from before, and I'm going to place it right in the middle of the lip. Now here's the final step. Here's the final step. Fenty Gloss Bomb Heat in Fussy Heat. Now I hate lip plumping lip glosses. It makes me feel like a science experiment. But this gloss right here, because we made that stark contrast with that On Point, with the stark light pink, we can use the color gloss without it making it look, you know, one-dimensional and dark. This is a lip. This is a lip. Now I'm gonna do my lashes, and I'm gonna come back, and this is pretty much the end of this look. Oh, before I go, I will show you my final face step, which is I'm gonna take this Lancome, just a felt tip eyeliner. It's the Ultra Precise Waterproof Liner. I just make a few beauty marks. I have to fix that one too. Just go right back over with setting powder when it dries. Don't do it when it's wet. When it dries, put setting powder on top of it. It's going to mellow it out. It's all good. But I'm going to do my lashes. I'm going to come back. At this time, I either have a how to put on faux lashes updated video posted, or it's coming up. So be on the lookout for it. I'm going to put on my lashes and I'll be right back. All right, everybody, here is the final look. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please give it a like and make sure you are subscribed to see more videos like this. Let me know down in the comments if you do anything differently. Let me know. I like to hear those sorts of things. Also, any video that you want to see next, that is a huge help when you tell me what video you want to see next. So go check that out. Check me out on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, all at Raggedy Royal, to see more of this in action. I'm about to go get my hair dyed. Check out my hair journey videos that I just made about all my colorful hair. And yes, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for your support. Mwah.